Welcome back to the program. We're joined now by Brad Schneider. He's a Democrat of Illinois and a member of the Ways and Means and Foreign Affairs Committees. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So yesterday you voted against a bill that included the Senate-passed 10-day, now 9-day continuing resolution to fund DHS. Why did you vote against it?
So I'm not ready to give any more money to ICE until we change what ICE is doing. The end of last month, I joined most of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to vote for the 5 funding bills and against the ICE bill to send to Congress, ICE funding for the year, to send to Senate. The Senate put those together, sent them back with a 10-day extension for ICE. And until we rein in ICE, until they are following the law, upholding the Constitution, respecting the rights of Americans and everyone in this country, we can't give ICE any more money.
Well, now the government is open, and you've got these 9 days to negotiate those things. Do you think you can get it done in 9 days?
We should be able to. What we're asking for is not unreasonable. We're asking for ICE officers to behave the same way we expect of our local law enforcement in our cities and towns across the country. When they approach someone, if they're going to arrest someone, they're doing it with a judicial warrant. They have identification who they are, where they're from, they're showing their face. They're doing it with respect, not throwing people to the ground or pulling them out of the car with guns blazing, but rather treating people with the respect that every American deserves.
Now, one of the requirements is to wear body cameras, and Secretary Noem has already said that body cameras would be worn in Minneapolis. That would roll out to other states. There's already funding for that from the One Big Beautiful Bill, but you would want that codified into law so that they can't take that back.
Right. We want to make sure that what ICE is doing is according to law. And the Constitution protects Americans' rights. It's within the Bill of Rights, whether it's freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, protection against unreasonable search and seizures. That was something that the founders were worried about 250 years ago. And it's as true today that every American should have the ability to live their lives with freedom and respect.
Now, requiring agents to take their masks off, the argument is that these agents are being doxxed, they're being harassed, they're being assaulted in many cases, and that it's just not fair for them to be putting their identification out so that they and their families can be harassed.
I appreciate the concern. I think we look, and as I said, that we're asking the same thing of what we ask of our local police enforcement. If they were behaving with the appropriate decorum, if they were following procedures that required a judicial warrant, that they introduced themselves, said why they were there, I don't think you would have the same attacks. What we've seen, whether it's in Chicago, most recently in Minneapolis, is ICE officers aggressively, violently approaching individuals, yanking them out of their car. What you saw with Alex Preddy, ICE officers approached him. First, they shove a woman down to the ground. Preddy steps in to protect the woman, and the next thing you know, they're throwing him to the ground and ultimately shooting him 5 times. This is not what we should expect of any police or law enforcement effort. And all we're asking for ICE is to perform in a way that respects rights and upholds the Constitution.
Now, what Republicans are saying, though, is that ICE is operating in red states, and they're not having any of these problems. This is all happening because of these blue states. There's sanctuary cities, sanctuary states. There's violent protests against these officers who are just trying to do their jobs.
So if you look at the way DHS, Kristi Noem, Bovino, and who's no longer responsible there, they come into Chicago, the operation's called Operation Midway Blitz. They're putting on displays of force. They're dressed in military attire, approaching people in aggressive ways. I'm not seeing that in red states. That's exclusively in states like Chicago and Minneapolis, Los Angeles. They are trying to make a statement. They are terrifying our communities. They are trying to basically get people to bow down and kiss their ring and accept whatever they're going to do. That's not the way this country was founded. That's not the principles that have defined the country for 250 years.
If you'd like to talk to Representative Brad Schneider, Democrat of Illinois, you can start calling in now. Republicans are on 202-748-8001. Democrats 202-748-8000 and Independents 202-748-8002. I want to play for you Congressman Speaker Mike Johnson. He was asked about whether ICE should change its tactics.
I have great faith and trust in the leadership of Homeland Security and Tom Homan in particular, who's now in charge in Minnesota. He brings 40 years experience to this. He's very measured. We all believe that immigration policy ought to be balanced and strategic and smart, and it obviously needs to comply with the law. And I'm going to leave it to the experts to determine what that is. I think in the negotiation, I think we've got to remove the politics. We've got to look at what the Constitution says, what federal immigration law says, and if anybody wants to adjust immigration law, then that's why we're here in the legislative branch. But we need it. We need that approach. We need the temperature turned down. That's the president's words, and you need a steady hand at the wheel. I think Tom Homan is a great guy to do that.
Do you agree with that?
There's so much in that I disagree with. We can start with the trust. Kristi Noem is the last person I'm going to trust. You watch what happened in Minneapolis. It was on film, and she came and immediately said the exact opposite. She said, don't believe what you see with your eyes, believe what I tell you, and what she was telling us was false, and that's happened time and time again. It's rich for Speaker Johnson to talk about immigration policy. I agree with what he said in the clip. It's just his actions defy everything he said. We've been trying to pass immigration reform for decades. We desperately need comprehensive immigration reform that secures our borders, makes sure we know who's coming in, that changes our laws so we can bring people here. We're going to help grow our economy, strengthen our communities, and do it in an ordered way. But the Republicans have stopped us every step of the way. In 2013, my first year in Congress, we had a bill that it passed the Senate overwhelmingly bipartisan, would have passed the House with more than 300 votes, but John Boehner, then Speaker, blocked it. Paul Ryan, when he was Speaker, blocked our efforts to do anything on immigration, and Mike Johnson won't even let us have the conversation. So if he wants to talk about immigration reform, if he wants to talk about doing a measured, thoughtful way that addresses the needs of the nation and ensures we protect our security, I'm all in.
You mentioned Secretary Noem. Your colleague, Representative Robin Kelly, has introduced a measure to impeach Secretary Noem. Are you on board with that?
I'm not, and I think Noem has to go. I've called for her removal. I called for her to step down, which she should do of her own accord, but the president should remove her. And if not, Congress should proceed with impeachment process. It starts with an investigation. We have to build the case. We have to make the case. And when the facts are there, if it passes the House, it should be a case that could go to the Senate with conviction. If the House were to rush to articles of impeachment, pass it now, which they wouldn't do with the Republican majority, the Senate wouldn't remove her, nothing's happened. So she needs to go. She is a threat to our communities, but we need to do it in a formal process, or the easiest way is for President Trump to recognize she's hurting him, hurting the country, and needs to get out of the office.
Let's talk